Once again, welcome to Shared Moments with Justus. This week, I'm very excited to have, or rather to host, two ladies who I've known personally for quite some time. One of them I've known her, I think, for almost 10 years, actually more than 10 years. Why I'm having these two ladies on set is because they have something in common. One of these ladies has been featured on Shared Moments with Justus before. Her story, I believe, if you've been following us, you've seen the story of Beatrice. So Christine is an expert in matters mental health and psychosocial support. Currently, you work as a programs coordinator, I believe, at Faraja Foundation.
Yes.
And of course, you all know Beatrice by now. Come on. Beatrice is an enthusiast in matters rehabilitation and reintegration. And she's doing so much actually around that area. And of course, going by the story that she has shared before, she's also a former inmate at Langata Women's Prison. So let me give my guests an opportunity to really introduce themselves to you properly. Let me start with Christine.
Yes.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's nice to be here.
You know, you're my number one fan.
Yeah, yeah, I am.
You're
yeah,
used to watching these things from the comfort of your seat. Now
Yes.
we are watching you from the comfort of our seats.
Yes, and I watch and I've been shedding a lot of tears.
Oh, man.
And I've been sending virtual hugs to so many of your guests.
Wow.
But now today I am the guest.
Tell us something about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Christine Odero. I work for Faraja Foundation. I'm the programs coordinator. So Faraja Foundation is a non-profit, and we do reintegration of offenders. We have partnered with the Kenya Prison Service for many years now. Recently, we just celebrated our 20 years. We hit a landmark. For several years now, we have been working with children also, children in the rehabilitation schools. And as you well know, these are children who come from very disturbed backgrounds. Some of them come from the streets. There's still a gap on their reintegration. So when Faraja comes in, we're just coming in to complement the efforts that are being made by the government, by the stakeholders, and the main partners.
Thank you. And we'll be talking more about that. Let me come to Beatrice. Beatrice, karibu sana to the show. Once again.
Nashukuru.
Yes, you've been here long enough now to host the show.
Forward to that.
Looking forward to that indeed. So how are you feeling? It's been a while since you last featured. Actually, we ran your story a few weeks ago, and it elicited a lot of reactions from the audience.
Yes.
What has changed since then?
I feel better when I see people giving very positive feedback. I feel good when I go through the comments. Of course, not everybody is so positive. But I would say like 96, let's say 96% of the people that they've given their feedback, it's quite so positive. A certain parent says like, thank you, Beatrice, for sharing this. You've changed the life of my son. I feel good. I feel like, wow, somebody has made an informed decision out of my own mistake. That person is not going to land where I was. It is quite satisfying, yeah.
Christine, you were mentioned several times, and that is why you're part of this conversation today. When I first met Beatrice, that was, I think, in 2009 or 2010?
2009.
2009. Yes. So we met at Langata Women's Prison, and that time Beatrice was still at the remand section.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, she was a tiny little girl, but she was very excited, and she was, you know, she couldn't say 2 words without mentioning Christine in the same sentence. And so I was like, who is this Christine? Later I came to learn that this is the Christine that Beatrice was very passionate about, speaking in terms of the, you know, the impact you had made in her life while at Langata Women's Prison. We're going to talk more about what role you played in her life when she was still at the prison. But it's been 10 years since Beatrice left Langata Women's Prison. 10 years. And Beatrice, let me ask you this specifically. Do you feel 10 years down the line that you are now fully reintegrated?
Well, me, I don't want to say that I've fully been reintegrated, because up to date, I still face the stigma.
No.
Like,
10 years down the line, how do you face stigma after 10 years?
Let me tell you something, just as something like barely 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
I was in an event somewhere, and then like you see the people create rapport here and there. Then there was this guy, then we started talking. So like, I want to know you more. Then I was like, oh, then I don't know, a friend of mine called me in relation to the previous.
The previous story that you had shared.
Yes, the previous story that
Okay.
we shared in this very same platform. And then I'm like, oh, this is me. Share the link. The moment I shared the link, and the guy opened, the first thing he read was like, at 16, imprisoned, charged with murder. And the guy was like, yes, you are charged with murder. Uliua nani? And then I was like, oh, and the atmosphere changed. The bubbly guy I was seeing in front just became dull, and like I was in a hurry even to leave. So those are the things like I think we have to live with them.
Some of the stigma.
That's the stigma that is still they follow us.
So 10 years down the line, you're still going through stigmatization and
yes.
people who still don't believe perhaps that, you know.
So it's a tag that that lives with you for a very long time.
Yes.
I think those are the challenges we're dealing with.
Because for you specifically, this is your work. This is what you've been doing for the longest time.
Yes, we journey with the incarcerated inmates and the formerly incarcerated. And this is the most challenging part, because you can never say you've done so much and like they are fully reintegrated. So you find that there's always a tag. You go looking for a job, your good conduct is not well placed. And I think that's an issue that we are even currently addressing.
And just before you come to that, because I know there are so many other areas that I want you to specifically address when it comes to reintegration and the role that yourself and the foundation that you represent, Faraja Foundation, you know, and the work that they've been doing specifically in prisons and other areas. But I want you to respond to this particular question, if at all you can. How long does it take for one to be reintegrated or perhaps feel fully reintegrated, because it's been 10 years and Beatrice is saying she still doesn't feel like she's fully reintegrated before we can now, you know, talk about the other things?
Yeah, I think in Kenya, it might take a longer time, because remember, upon release, like what we do as Faraja and other organizations, because we sit in the discharge board meetings, and what happens is that we have pre-release interventions where counseling is done. And then we have the post where we now, together with the client, we look into the psychosocial issues. Do they need counseling? Is it mediation? Is it the family? Is it? But it's so difficult. And this is an area where we need to create a lot of awareness. Because for one client, like for instance, Beatrice, I was able to journey with her. And I think the most important part of Beatrice is that she was able to heal. So for her, the family did a lot. And we could also lobby a case indirectly, and the support she received. But now the problem came when she was released. Now, when you're released, you're embraced with a totally now different environment. And that's why most of the time when we get an opportunity, we talk about the issues of reintegration and the challenges that comes with it. Because we know of women who have committed suicide. We know of people who have been excommunicated. Their village is in maybe Loitoktok or Muranga, but they're in town because they cannot go back and settle in the village.
When you first met Beatrice, as you said, she was still on trial.
Yes.
So her case was not determined
Yes.
yet. Yet you still, took her through your program.
Yeah.
And what this tells me is that, rehabilitation and reintegration, really, it's not something that starts when someone gets out of prison.
No. So for me, I started a program that she will talk about shortly. And the concept of that program was just for them to get to talking about forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive the person who hurt you, accept your situation, step out of denial. And it was a 12-step journey. So you have to take it.
How do you tell someone in the situation that Beatrice was in to forgive themselves, to
Yes.
step out of denial? How easy was that conversation, Beatrice?
But let me tell you. Wait, Tina, you have to forgive me for this because I've never told you this, but it's a confession though.
All right. Oh my God.
Do you know what? Tina, the first time that I attended those classes,
You spill it out.
the spiritual classes, Tina, I hated you.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I was wondering, like, are you really okay yourself?
Yeah.
You said, like, how are you telling us to be comfortable? You have to accept yourself and just feel like you accept the situation that you are in. You forgive the person who has hurt you. You forgive yourself. So, like, those seemed like things that could not even, like, they were not even possible.
Yeah.
But I used to attend your classes, yes. Maybe probably not really because I was so much interested with what was going on, but maybe because I didn't have much to do, to pass time and to kill the boredom.
Yeah.
So I found myself in your classes and through them I was like, oh, so she's making sense. So I can really change. And I think those classes, that was the turning point of my life.
So because when you started attending the classes, as you say, the intention was not really to take anything out of the class, but really to pass time. So at what point did you feel then that the conviction to really now pay attention to what was going on and to really even give it a thought? What is that touched your your nerves to the extent?
Christine was so passionate about whatever she did. She really, and she would cajole us, just come and listen to what you're going to say. Come, let's discuss. And then I learned, like, if I forgive myself, I think there is more of peace that I'm going to have. So, like, if I forgive the other person, does it do more harm or good to me? And then I learned, like, the more I started, the more I had of forgiveness, the more I came to understand the situation. I let go of I was so bitter, by the way. So bitter. But I let go of the bitterness and I found myself, like, life started changing. I started feeling optimistic because, like, I told you, like I mentioned earlier, the moment that I went for my judgment, hey, my friend, I had faith. I knew I'm not coming back to that prison. I don't know how, but deep down in me, I knew I'm not getting back there. I shared everything that I had, I gave them out, like chukweni.
Other than the rehabilitation that was going on, the idea of us coming into the remand section, which was not allowed initially, there was need that a resource center, if a resource center is constructed, this would mitigate, because the plan for the resource center was that they are kept busy with skills and a library so that they can read books, and counseling rooms so that counselors can now start coming in to conduct their counseling sessions. That was the idea behind now solving this problem of people staying inside the cells for a longer period of time. And just like we had planned, inmates now were allowed to go into the resource center and start doing different activities. Then the capital remandees, where Beatrice was, were being allowed in, like if the ordinaries come in the morning, the capitals in the afternoon. But slowly by slowly, we started, putting them together. And other people would be like, why did you put them together? But slowly by slowly, it became normal. Like people in the prison, institution, realized that even the capitals are now even behaving better. That ushanyang'anya mtu hiyo freedom, then you give them and they're behaving nicely. So when the prison saw that the capital remandees were behaving well, they were now allowed to mingle. And that's how it continued like that. And we were able to invite stakeholders to come in and conduct, those who are counselors to come in through the prison, because everything we were doing was not independently Faraja, but through the prison and through the officer in charge who was in charge.
Beatrice can share with us what is it exactly that happened that gave you a new or a change of mind?
I think it was all about the classes that that I had with Christine, because there are those days that she was maybe held in the office and she had meetings. She would now entrust me. Now, when they come for Celebrate Recovery Africa, you just take through them. So I felt like myself, having gone through this and I'm healing, I think now I'm I think I now started giving hope to the rest. And though it was difficult, now learning to accept myself, stepping out of denial, facing the reality, like this is it. Somebody's life was lost. I am here for the same. And I'm like, how do I address this? With my bitterness, how is it even going to help me? So having understood all that, I came to learn like, I think there is hope in God. Those are the moments that, fine, most people say that we all run to God when you have zero options. But I believe, like, to me, going that course was not because I didn't have options. Yes, many may feel so. But there comes a time that now the reality hits you and you're like, no, this is me. I need to recorrect myself. Myself, I remember saying that I may be imprisoned, but my spirit is free. Because probably that's what I was feeling. I felt like I may be just within these tall walls, but I felt like I'm at peace with myself. Having now gotten myself into the reality, facing everything, now forgiving myself, letting go and letting God in, and even forgiving the other people that I felt like they were too harsh on me. Because I felt so, why wouldn't these people understand really what happened? Why wouldn't these people just call me and ask me what happened? We were just the two of us. Yeah, but nobody wants, of course the dead tell no tales.
Yeah.
Yes, and many may feel like, no, because he's gone, I'm the only one now, I'm at will to change anything that happened. But they don't even want to listen to you because, that story of somebody stabbing, I don't think a normal human being will stab once and see the blood gushing out, and, the more you stab, it's out of the rage. That is just a sign of that this person was extremely bitter. That is just an expression. After now, everything, I'm now okay with myself, and now I know what is happening. So I approached one of the counselors, Teresa, and I told her, I really need to talk to my dad. I really want a one-on-one meeting with my parents. I want to talk to my dad. I want to open up. I want my dad to know why it all happened like this. And I'm glad and I'm so thankful to Faraja Fraternity. They made it happen. Yeah. My dad was brought into the prisons. We had a one-on-one meeting with him, mediated by the lead counselor in Faraja Foundation. And we talked. It all began from here, it escalated to this, and now the results are here. So that was the beginning. So we had a session with my dad, and I think it also changed him.
I think that is it's also a component of reintegration. Yeah, because we say we are reintegrating. Where are you reintegrating these people to? For instance, for a man who has been serving sentence for over 30 years, where are you reintegrating that man? To the wife who probably is married or has moved on?
So Beatrice, when you were released, when you left Langata Women's Prison, what do you think, looking back, what do you think really worked for you in terms of reintegration? What was in place that you think if it were not, then things would perhaps not be as easy as they were for you?
My family. The pillar of any person reintegrating is the family. For me, I knew that once I leave prison, I'll be going home. I had parents whom I was going to. I had my sisters and brother I was going to. We had made peace with my dad. So I knew, I was upbeat, and I was sure that I was going to get good reception from my family. So I believe that had they not had that family, I don't know where I would have been. Because for one, they're the ones who gave me, from the change of clothes, a place to stay, and everything. And now after I went back home, that's when I was able to make now sober decisions like, will I now start hustling up for my baby, or will I go back to school? Now, knowing that my family is there for me, my baby is safe with them, I had to make an informed decision to go back to school. So if I didn't have my family, I don't know how it would have been. Actually, I've never thought about it. That if I told my family wasn't there, how would I don't believe that I would be whom I am today.
Thankfully for you, that really came in handy.
Yes.
But that is not the case for everyone, Christine, is it?
Yes, it is never the case for everyone. And I know of so many whose families just gave up along the way. They just give up. And sometimes it is not in their will that they give up. Sometimes you just know how hard life is. Coming from up country all the time, crossing, maybe someone has been transferred to Mombasa or Kamiti or where. So that gap is there. So when the gap is created, the person coming out is not sure of how the family will embrace them. Now, when they get to the society, there's the societal perception about this person. Remember, maybe the crime that was committed in the village or within the community that you are integrating him back to. So that's why I'm saying, and I support Beatrice when she says family is the most important component of the reintegration. And we have had cases of men coming out of jail and killing because of frustration. So I think the gap that is there is the mental support, and that support should be extended even to the family. Because we don't want to assume that the family knows how to embrace this prisoner.
So you mean, apart from, mental support that is provided most of the time to those who are leaving prison or those who are in prison,
yeah,
you're saying that there's need to incorporate other family members for these people,
yes,
who are not necessarily in prison,
yes,
to prepare them to receive these people, yes, when they get out of prison.
And I'm happy because Kenya Prison Service and the government introduced, it's called open days. Yeah. And some people call it parenting days, because whether you are in a male prison or a female prison, your children will come and visit you. And for me, that is positive. But how much is this kind of opportunity being used? Are other stakeholders coming in to support families that are willing to come and reconcile? You see, because a lot has changed. There's a lot of improvements. Before you'd go and talk to your relative within halls. But right now we have what is called child-friendly visitations, and there are other names to it. But for me, it's positive because you can go sit the way we are sitting, and meet and interact with the person and listen to them. And that interaction is very important. I think there's just need for all players to agree what is the methodology? How do we approach these things? Because prison has created platforms. We have the discharge board meetings. And I remember my organization rallying other institutions and even bringing in officers from different prisons to go and teach others how to run these meetings, because it's important that the community is sensitized, that people understand the challenges, people interact with the meetings, even the local administration, even the police, you know, because I know people who have been released and it is the police who will trouble them, you know. Anything that happens, the police is at your door. Surely, you've been in for 30 years. Are you coming back to, you know, most of them, even if you are jailed because you are stealing or you are caught in robbery with violence, trust me, most of the time they will not go back to that behavior. But now the problem comes when they experience stigma, their rights are violated out here, they don't have anywhere to go, they struggle to make ends meet. Even if Faraja gives money for reintegration and Faraja does its part, but the society brings this person down, our efforts are brought down. And the government should also ask itself, when you keep people inside without proper, reintegration support, like for instance, the issue of the good conduct certificate, why does it remain negative, like for life?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Beatrice, you know, things might look glamorous on the surface, at least for those listening to you or looking at you from a distance. But really, what has it taken for you to be where you are from the time that you were released? How much effort have you put in, and what has changed for you? What has not?
It all takes determination and resilience. Along the way, at a given time, I also felt like giving up, because when I was going into remand, I was a dropout. I needed to come out to make it up, even if it is not for me, for my parents, for my son. I knew I wouldn't depend on my parents for eternity. I need to now to do something, to earn a living on my own. And after a long time, when I got home, now the reality hit me. The family is exhausted. And no, like there is no way I was going to rely on them for anything. So I had to do something to get back on my feet. And the only option I had was education, getting back to school. I went back to Form 2 when I was, I think, 20. Yes, I was 20 years in Form 2. And it wasn't easy. Easy, it wasn't. But I had to persevere. I had to focus. I had just to look ahead and feel like I had to do this. Not for myself, for my son. That was a motivating factor. And up to now, I still do it for the betterment of them. Now I have many babies. I want them not to go through what I went through. Yeah. And by so doing, I have to work extra hard to provide for them, so that they'll not feel the absence of something and they have to seek it elsewhere, which is not easy. So at times these things may look like it's just a walk in the park, but it is not. And discipline is, I think it is another thing that has taken me through, because I've also encountered so many challenges along the way. You would talk to people about your station, about your story, and people will come and take advantage of you. In some circumstances, I have almost landed in the hands of conmen.
And that's the challenge, especially
Yes.
sharing, some of these things.
Because people will take you like you're desperate, and you know, like a desperate person will just do anything to
Vulnerable.
fight. That a desperate person is a vulnerable person.
Yeah.
So it has not been easy, especially like people will come with nicely packaged lies. It has not been easy trying to make just to live a straight life, man. The challenges are just so many. And I know that that is not my plight too. I know of many others who are facing the same. Just to find identity. Because like once you are incarcerated, you lose your identity. So you are coming back to reaffirm to the society like I'm still the very same person that I was. It was a mishap that happened along the way, and I need to do. I'm still the old person that you knew. So trying to convey the message, I think it's difficult. As a parent, be it a father or a mother, you want to remain relevant to the children that you left. Being a child, you want to remain relevant to the parents that you have. So maintaining all that calm, trying to do the best, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of discipline. There is a lot of exploitation going on.
Yeah. We know of people who have come out, and because of that, they overindulged, or they were used. They became HIV positive. Along the line, because of depression, you're trying to make a livelihood, you're battling stigma and all that, you end up losing your life. So there's a lot to it.
So, Christine, if you were asked to address the gaps in terms of reintegration in this country, what would you give priority to?
I would skip and give priority to the children, because that is the current issue that I'm looking into. Because these children accompanying their mothers in prison are innocent. At the moment, fine, Faraja Foundation built a daycare at Langata Women's Prison. But you realize that to some degree they are exposed. You cannot fully protect them. If there can be other systems of ensuring that the child is safe, I think I would give priority to that. But on the issue of reintegration, I would take the family approach, the family and the community approach, bringing in the community in the picture during the rehabilitation up till the time that now the person who's been serving sentence is just about to be released. Is the village or the community you're going to ready to receive you? So those are and I think in as much as we shall be looking into the family, the person is also very important for them to, to understand what they are walking into. Most of the time, they just, you're released, but you're faced with the unknown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beatrice, what are you looking forward to?
Having shared my story, it is just a weekend, the passion to have people not go through what I went through. So there is something which is coming up for people to have, maybe have a home somewhere, an organization that will help in empowering a humane and dignified reintegration. That is what I'm looking forward to. To have other inmates just reintegrate well in the society. And I really thank people because like so far so good. I've seen very good people who are coming out and they are willing to support. Thank you for those people. Like allow me to appreciate a few.
Go ahead.
There is this lady in Germany. She's in the UK. She paid school fees for me.
Wow.
I really feel honored. I also thank one Benson Chege. He has really been following up. People, what are you really doing? Yeah, I really want to be part of that. There's also a certain South African guy who is willing to help, to be part of the education for my boys.
Wow.
And it has really come out of this platform. And I'm also now calling upon to those people who feel touched, to those people who feel like you should be part of this journey, to provide a humane and dignified reintegration to those people leaving the prisons, to mothers who are coming back to their babies, to fathers who are coming to their families, and these children who are going back to our parents, they need support. If you know that you are a counselor, you can offer those services pro bono, because some of these things that you do not give because you have. I have learned not to give from the abundance of my pocket. I've learned to give out of the abundance of my heart. And I think that is the most important. So if you feel that the society, because like people forget that once we support these people, we are even keeping our system and our even society safe. Because like once we show, there is no way you'll feel, there's no way you're going to condemn an already self-condemned person, and there's no way you're going to make them work. So this person like who feels like they have lost their identity, they are in crisis, and they are even rejecting themselves. The esteem is low. There is no way you can take that person and condemn. I think the best thing to counterattack that person is to love. Look at these people who try to commit suicide. A person who is trying to commit suicide, you are arrested for taking your own life. But they forget that this person, the act itself was calling out for help. This person needs more of mental help than taking that person to prison. So I think it's a high time that we started identifying, rather than dealing with these people in the prisons. I think it's also another time that it's also the high time we started looking at the root causes of all this. And with that, I believe you're going to have a dignified and a crime-free society.
As we come to the end, let me give you, Christine, an opportunity to perhaps, as you talk about your drive, what drives you really to do all these things that you do, maybe also tie it together with your conclusion if you have an appeal of some sort, and then we'll come to Beatrice.
All right. So thank you very much, Justus. So the drive behind what we do is just passion. I think passion, if there is passion in whatever one does, then you end up moving towards, excellence. And excellence in this context means you understand people better, and you become better in what you do. If you're helping people, it becomes better and better. You yield because the drive is from within, and it comes out. So you become authentic in what you do, and that is the beautiful part of what we do at Faraja Foundation. And thanks to even the support of my boss, Jane Korea. And without the support of Faraja, even being here today really would not be possible. So if you have a leadership that supports your call, it is more satisfying. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Beatrice, take us home.
I don't even feel like taking you home. I want us to stay here because I feel so good having these two amazing souls here, because apparently people have played a very vital role into me being whom I am right now. Thank you, Justus, for this platform. I know it's changing many lives out there. Christine, I'll never tire to say thank you. Never will I ever get tired to say thank you. For I believe that it is through you that I found my inner healing, and I made my turning point, and probably that was the beginning of a new me.
Well, I will cry.
Don't.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of a new me. Thank you so much. And I also want to tell people that the fact that somebody is in prison, that one does not degrade you into a less human being. The offenders who are behind bars right now, they are human beings who have their rights too. and those who have their other ones. It's only that they are incarcerated. That's the only difference between you and them. So in other wants that you have, in other needs that you have, they too experience them. The moment that you are locked up doesn't make you don't cease being a human being. You think, yeah, you have desires, you have dreams. So it just needs somebody to just come and identify with you, to push you into a greater height. So let's not discriminate to these people. If you know that you have a family member that is in prison and you left them there like it is their own mistake, no, please. They don't cease from being your own relative. If you have a friend that is suffering somewhere in police custody, in prison, just go check them out. Show them love. Probably that's the only thing that they need to keep going.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, Justus, for inviting us here, me and Beatrice. I think this was timely. I think it was just the right time. We ask you to do more of this because there's a lot to talk about. You realize that a lot of psychosocial issues, a lot of challenges in the family end up in the prison. Yeah. So these things are interlinked. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to having more of these conversations with you.
Thank you, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so guys, Koheri, that's all we've had time for.